softball news with Mark Trible of the Courier-Post. Good morning, Mark.
How you doing, Sully? It's good to be on.
Pretty good, man. Tell us about what's going on in South Jersey softball.
Well, there's been a lot going on, and it's been up and down. Really, a lot of parity. Teams I thought probably would be at the top before the season, kind of struggling out of the gates. I tell you, one team that looks good, though, is down your way, Egg Harbor Township, man. The only undefeated team in South Jersey.
Yeah, they're pretty solid. I've seen them play a few times this year. They have the luxury of having two pitchers who are really number ones. You got Nicole Wisser and Tori Zram there, and just a great defense and a really solid lineup. You know, the bottom of their lineup has really been coming through in the month of April, and that really lengthens that lineup a lot. And it's tough for some of these teams to compete with that.
Yeah, and you know the thing this year, the Cape Atlantic League's sneaky good with Mainland, Absegami, Millville, all obviously on that side of the division. So, you know, EHT really is the team to watch. It's been trying to come up with a top 15 every week has really, you know, it's been like pulling teeth because it's just somebody's in, somebody's out. One team will win by 12. The next game they lose by 8 to a team that you expect they would hammer. But EHT's been the only constant so far, and I know, you know, Washington Township was one of our top teams at the beginning of the season, and they took them to task. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. I know I talked to Coach Dunlap earlier this week, and she feels confident, but I don't think that they're getting in over their head. I think they're staying pretty focused. That was kind of her number one rule for this season, to stay focused on the old cliche, one game at a time.
Yep. One team that I've had my eye on, I thought they were going to be good in the beginning of the season, was Absegami. They kind of struggled out of the gate a little bit, had some tough games early on, started out 2-3, and then ripped off about 8 wins in a row, and had a real nice win over an ACIT team that's kind of coming up. They don't have any seniors on that squad, so they're going to be a team to look out for the next 2 years. But Gabby really coming together, and they have a nice mix there. They got what you need in softball, which is that senior pitcher in Bobby Beck, and you know, some pretty good hitters in the middle lineup. They might be a team to look out for once postseason rolls around.
Yeah, and like I said, things are bunched up there a little bit as to where, even though EHT is undefeated, it's not that they can't be beat by Millville, Absegami, or Mainland. And really, those are the teams you're looking at. I mean, Vineland did have a great run through the RV tournament, and had Millville on the ropes the next day. But Gammy is a team that they're right there, and they played EHT tough. I know that they will probably be. I don't know if they'll win it, but just because of how everything's going already. But you know, they're not that far away, like you said. They're 11-3. 7-2 in the league, and have put up some encouraging results. You know, it takes a lot to bounce back when you lose 12-2 to Millville early in the season. You know, and really, the rest of the results, everything. You know, they've hammered some teams, like you said. ACIT's a nice club. They got away with one there, 3-2. And it'll be interesting to see, man. A lot of good ball down the shore this year.
Yeah, Millville's a team I don't know if I'd be real happy about facing in late May. They got some real good players and a great battery there with Eigenman behind the plate and Sydney Shannon inside the circle. And Kayla Smith is just, you know, one of the great athletes in the Cape Atlantic League and a real power hitter in the middle of that lineup. They're going to be a team to watch. I think if they can get heated up in the middle of May, they're going to be a real tough out in the state playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. And Smith can hit it. Katie May Makos can hit it. I was interested to see how the pitching was going to work out for them coming into the year. But like you said, Shannon's been great for them. They're a team that really, it's all wide open in terms of South Jersey Group 4. And, you know, no disrespect to anybody else, but if I look at it today, it would be hard for me to pick someone who I'd say would run away with it, because nobody's going to. It's going to be anybody's game when the playoffs roll around. Millville's shown they're more than capable of playing with any of these teams and beating them. And, you know, Brooke, you and Dixon, you know that her teams are going to hit the ball, and this team's going to hit the ball. Like you said, Smith might be. Yeah, she's got to be one of the 3 or 4 best power hitters in the region. They're going to be able to generate runs, and there's not a lot of teams who could do that when they need to when it comes to playoff time. I mean, sure, teams will be able to cobble together runs now when they're playing, some also Rams, but a lot of that has to do with errors and stuff like that. Millville, not the case. They just slug it.
What about a team like Buna Regional? We're talking to Mark Trible of the Courier-Post, covers high school softball, does a great job covering softball in South Jersey. And what about a team like Buna? They've been pretty dominant the last couple of years, 9-6. So they're kind of they're winning some games, but not quite in the dominant fashion they have been in the last couple of years. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is a team like that can get hot late in May and really challenge for another South Jersey championship.
Yeah, tradition obviously. Buna always strong, and this year they lost a lot off last year's team. I mean, if you look at it, and they do have some nice pieces. They're always going to have girls who know how to play the game. That's just Buna for you. Their biggest thing is going to be looking at Group 2 there in South Jersey. Right now, last year in the championship, they beat West Deptford. West Deptford brought everybody back, so it would be quite a task for them to win South Jersey, I think. West Deptford's my favorite by kind of a decent margin, but like you said, you can never count them out. And by the time you get to the playoffs, I mean, I think if pressed, Pam Pickett would say if this team were to get that far, that would be a rousing success for them. Because you're exactly right, Dave. They started slow, and they started to have some momentum build here now. But you just wonder, like they played Cumberland the other day. Cumberland's really good. They lost. I'm sorry, they didn't play them the other day. They played them at the beginning of the season, 13-5. Then you look at where they are now. Things have started to turn around a little bit. But do they play enough competition on that side of the Cape? Outside of St. Joe, that's a tough thing. That's a tough thing, man, because I don't know. You look at Millville, like you said, you look at the bigger schools, those teams are able to regroup a little bit better and play a tougher slate.
Mark, I spend a lot of my time covering Cape Atlantic League teams, so give me some of your teams to watch out for, maybe in West Jersey, Gloucester County, up in the Cherokee area, those kind of teams. Give me some teams to watch out for as we get into May and start looking ahead towards playoffs.
Well, you can never count out Washington Township. When I started covering softball here last year, that was the first thing I learned. You can never count out Washington Township. They'll be strong. They've struggled a little bit here down the stretch, but in terms of Group 4, they'll be there at the end of the day. I think Eastern also. Eastern's been consistent. I know their coach Laura Paquette's really put together a nice season there. West Deptford, I mentioned. It's like I said earlier, man. It's been odd. It's hard to really get a bead on who's walking away with anything right now because for some reason there's just a lot of parity, and a lot of people are going to point to pitching for that sake. They're going to say, well, there's no pitching. That's why everybody's beating up on everybody. I don't think it's necessarily that. I just think that there's a lot of talent in a lot of places, and there aren't that many teams that are experienced and used to handling success. On the private side, I think Paul VI is probably our best parochial school up here, and Bishop Eustace isn't far behind. So there's some good clubs, but most of it's been focused in the Olympic. Cumberland, obviously, in the Tri-County has been really strong. They had a slow week a couple weeks ago. It'll be interesting to see, man. I think last year I kind of had the favorites pegged out going into the postseason in the last month of the season, and it kind of played to that. This year, that's not the case at all. I think it's really a crapshoot everywhere, but I think Group 2 is West Deptford's to win in South Jersey.
Good stuff, Mark. We're up against the break. Got to let you go, but we'll keep in touch, and we'll talk some more softball as the month of May goes on. Thanks, buddy.
You got it, Dave. Thanks, man.
All right, man. Have a good weekend.
Yep.
That was Mark Trible of the Courier-Post talking a little high school softball.